Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Thrive After Sports podcast. If you're tuning in with us on the Power of Story, thank you for being there as well. I got a special guest in the building, somebody who's become a good friend over these past few months. We've been working on a lot of exciting things together. I'm thrilled to have connected with this man because I love the work he's doing at my alma mater, Stony Brook University. We got Mr. Isidro Fortuna, aka Izzy, on the line. What's going on, Izzy?
Hey, what's up, man? Thank you so much. Definitely appreciate the support and any like you've been a huge partner and just a really big thought partner in all this, man. Thank you.
Man, thank you, Izzy. It's a pleasure, man. I'm glad we got connected, and I'm excited for not only for the listeners to hear your journey today, but for everybody to hear about all the amazing things you're up to at Stony Brook. Like you said, you wish you could clone yourself. You wear so many hats over there, man. You play baseball, man. You were a baseball player at Stony Brook. So let's talk about that a little bit. Like, what was your career like there? And as you started to wind down a little bit, did you have aspirations of playing at the professional level, or talk about that a little bit for us?
Oh man, I mean everybody does, man. I can go as far back, even before Stony Brook. I was born in the beautiful island of the Dominican Republic. I came here when I was about 2, 3 years old, and if you know anything about Dominicans, we love baseball. Like that's our lifeline, that's our bloodline, and baseball is something that allowed for me to further my education. It kept me in line, and it kept me motivated, and it always constantly put me in this mindset of thinking about the future, thinking about like what's next. So I definitely owe thanks to the sport of baseball, to all the organizations, even before I got to college, that allowed for me to build myself, take accountability, for the craft of playing the sport, and molded me into the person that I am today. So I definitely, before I say anything, I just wanted to definitely give a shout out to, the Bonnie Youth baseball organization in Brooklyn, the coaching staff over there, and all the lifelong friends that I have because of that organization. So definitely, giving them a shout out. But yeah, thinking about like what baseball has meant to me and what it has actually done for me, and leading up to my experience here at Stony Brook, like it gave me the opportunity for me to go to college. I did have a chance to go, the potential of playing pro, but again, like things happen, and I'm glad that baseball got me to college and helped me be a successful student athlete here at Stony Brook. My recruitment process was very, very, very interesting because like during my high school junior and senior year, like I had some of my classmates who they were struggling with their SATs. They were struggling with like what school am I going to go to? And here am I, like I already knew what school I was going to go to. I handpicked the school. And I knew what I was getting myself into. So I was very fortunate and blessed to actually have that opportunity. And my experience here at Stony Brook, like I'm like if you think about it, like I'm working now at Stony Brook. So like I had a really great experience. My freshman year, like I didn't get to play a lot, but what I did was I learned from a lot of the juniors and seniors, in the space, and they were incredible mentors. They definitely, I learned a lot from like how to approach the game, especially the college game, because it's like when you're going from high school to college, like the game is so much fast. There's like a game within a game, and playing city ball is very different. It took me a while for me to like find myself within the college game, but once I was able to, my talents took care of itself, and we were able to win a conference championship by my second year. So like, I definitely had a really great experience, did a lot of winning here at Stony Brook. And even after I left Stony Brook, we continued that winning culture. And again, like I'm blessed and I'm glad to be back out here at Stony Brook.
That's awesome, man. I didn't even know you won a championship while you were there. I don't know if you never told me that or I just didn't know about it, but that's dope, man. What a way to go out.
Nah, honestly, it's funny because like I don't really tell people a lot about it, but like when folks like walking around the building and they look at the championship hall, the wall of champions, and like they see my picture there, and they're like, "Oh, Izzy, that you?" I'm like, "Yeah, that was me right there." But but it's hilarious. But like it's I again, like I had a blast as a student athlete.
Yeah, you're a humble dude. You're not gonna have that picture like blown up and have it hanging in your office or something. That might be that might be doing too much, you know?
That might be too much, man. That might be too much.
That's funny, man. So do you think that and like I mentioned at the beginning, for everybody who doesn't know, Izzy's the director of life skills, which means you've essentially helped student athletes at Stony Brook get prepared for life when they're done, when they graduate, when they're done playing their sport. Now, what had you decide? Like, I know it's probably a long journey getting into that type of work, but what made you decide to go this route? How did you end up at Stony Brook?
I like when I graduated, I wanted to get as far away from Stony Brook as possible, and not because I enjoyed the experience, but like I wanted to try something new. I wanted to because I knew my career was over as an athlete, so I knew I was coming back to New York City, and I had a passion for helping people. I always that's something that I was born with. Like I was that one person in the classroom that if someone was being bullied, I was always sticking up for them, and I was always the friends with the kid that was bullied. That was the kid that was my friend, and I always made sure like, hey, like let's make sure like let's not pick on anybody. Like that's not cool. And I connected with the organization called Henry Settlement, and located in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and they basically like gave me the opportunity for me to, to test this craft of like how to help people, and entering the helping professions. And that's where honestly that's where I met one of my San Law baseball coaches there. His name is Daryl Tibu, and that's how I was connected to the Bonnie Youth Organization, and so on and so forth. But I think like prior to me getting to Stony Brook, Courtney Ricard, who I think who's no longer here at Stony Brook, but she played a huge role in supporting me here, like while I was a student athlete. And then she actually she was like recruiting me to come back to Stony Brook in some form or fashion. And I would say maybe like a couple of months before I even knew about the position, I was a school leader with at a elementary school in East Harlem, a school that I the staff and the children at the school I love, and I was a community school director, and that was a role that honestly like I always knew that was for me, because it allowed for me to tap into like my creative side, build programming to serve a community. Work with families and have an impact at the leadership level, because I was working alongside the principal with the parent coordinators and school leaders. And that was an amazing opportunity I had there. And that was through a organization called Partnership with Children. And they're dope. So like if you have anyone that wants to work and wants to learn how to be a social worker and work in a school environment, that's an organization right there. They're really dope. And out of nowhere, I get a phone call, and then it's Courtney. It's like, hey, like, would you be interested in this position? And I'm like, I didn't believe her at first. I was like, it's too good to be true, because like if you look at like all my experiences as like in the nonprofit sector and the program building, being a college counselor, working with college students in a non-traditional space. And like all that experience has led me to come back to Stony Brook. And because I'm a former student athlete, I understand what are the challenges that student athletes are facing. And also I understand the potential that they all have and that they all bring to the table. So like, I think, it was some way it was destined and it happened. And I'm glad that it did.
It sounds like you had a fairly, I don't want to say smooth transition, because obviously it's tough to let go of any sport. But like you said, when you were done playing, you sort of threw yourself into these experiences. You knew you wanted to serve people. You knew you wanted to help people. Like you said, everything you did led up to this point. But was there any challenges that you faced, I guess, like immediately after college? Like, man, I'm no longer Izzy the baseball player. Were you dealing with any of that, or was it kind of just smooth?
Oh man. So I mean, I'll tell you this story. So like my at the end of my junior year, I had a like during my junior year, I had a really good junior year, and I had the potential of being drafted. And a cross checker had come down, was really excited about me, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna get drafted. It's gonna happen. And about a couple of weeks later, I have a season-ending injury, basically like tearing up my right leg, and that honestly put me in a very dark place, especially that summer where I had to rehab the whole entire summer. I lost my opportunity. Like, everything that I actually worked for, like, like I positioned everything in my life, go to become a Major League Baseball player, and having it taken away, especially after my at the end of that junior year in that way, and then not being able to make the conference playoffs that year, like it hit me really hard. And it took a lot out of me, especially that summer, that summer between my junior and my senior year. I rehabbed the whole entire summer. I lost weight. I got in the best shape of my life. And senior year came around, and I was still struggling with my leg. But through rigorous training, I was able to continue to lose weight and get myself stronger. But the foot just wasn't coming around. I had a pretty good senior year, but it wasn't up to my standards. And towards the end of the season, I kind of knew like this is not going to happen for me. But you still always hold hope. You still always think about like, all right, like I can figure this out. But even before college, I made a deal with myself that if I ever go to college to play baseball, that I need to be honest with myself at the end of my senior year or at the end of my stay in college. And if I'm not going to go pro, then I need to stop and make an adjustment. Because I knew myself, like if I didn't, I would have never quit. I would have been there. I would have figured out. I would have traveled to Japan. I would have gone to Korea. I would have figured it out. And I just knew, like, if it's either I go that route or I'm gonna have to switch careers and just do something else. And my senior year ended in a very like we had a very successful year that year, but we didn't make the NCAA tournament. And that senior year, like I had to come back, as a non-student athlete to campus, and I was in a huge depression. Like that summer, that first fall semester, I almost failed out that fall semester, and I had a very tough conversation with a couple of my friends, with family about what's important for me right now. And I was walking back from the sports complex, and I was walking back to my dorm to Tabler, and halfway, like in between like rock, like there's like a rock that was like on the side of like the path, and I sat down and I started crying. I was crying, and like there were students that were passing by and they're looking at me, and I was crying. I was bawling. And like not many people know the story, but like that had a huge impact on my life, because it was the first time that I was actually able to release and like just let it go. And I did some counseling, and I spoke to people. I spoke to Courtney about this. I spoke to just other folks on campus, that can that hopefully that could have helped me. And luckily I was able to finally get to that spring semester and graduate. But even then, like it was hard. It was hard for me because I didn't know how to be just a student. I knew how to be a student athlete. I didn't know how to be just a student. So like I think for any student that's going through that, the most important thing is to ask for help, man. Because I think I never want anyone to be in that dark phase of their lives, because you never know what you would do. Like I wasn't going to class. I would get up in the morning and I would brush my teeth, take a shower, and I wouldn't eat. I would skip breakfast and I would start walking to class and I would go right back to my dorm and go under and like go back to sleep. And I was doing that for like 2, 3, 4 weeks. And again, like I like and it felt like 2, 3 days, but it was actually like 2, 3 weeks.
Wow. Man, Izzy, I want to stay on this for a second because this is important, man. And you know this, especially for, us to be on here as two men of color, for you to talk about having to have that release and then going to actually get help and getting counseling. Now, you could have just been like, nah, I'm going to deal with it on my own. I'm good. What was that moment? Because a lot of people go through that. And even if they have the release in private, yours was more public. Like you said, you were on the rock with students walking by, but you had the release, and that's the important thing. But what is the thing that actually has you say, okay, I'm actually going to get help. I'm going to start talking to people. I'm going to reach out to a counselor. What was the shift in your mind that had that happen?
I think honestly, it was just hitting rock bottom. Like I got the the financial aid bill. My mom was going to find out about like all the things that I was going through. And when you're thinking about like mental health, especially in the Black and Latinx community, we don't talk about like our own personal feelings. Like the way that you're taught, the way like what you're taught about mental health is deal with it yourself. If you are gonna ask for help outside of the family. Don't ask us. Ask someone else. So like right. It's a very private thing, and it's not, and again, like it's not to blame my family, it's not to blame my culture or anything like that. It's just that's just how it is. And it took me to hit rock bottom. And like for me, like that was literally I was on a rock. I had to hit rock bottom. And for some of us, it takes that. It takes that. Some of us, it's our pride that holds us back from actually asking for help. And it took me a while for me to ask for help. That was something that I always struggled with, even in college, like asking for help. Like if I was struggling with something, I knew that I was gonna have to be the person to figure it out. If it was like mom, if I was struggling athletically, I knew that I had to put in the hours. I had to, get in the cage, do my homework, study the opposition, take extra swings, before and after practice, like that was me. But when it came to something like this, when it came to mental health, it was like, all right, like again, like this is just like I have to figure this out on my own. But luckily, because I knew about the resources, and sometimes it's just that, like if you just know that there are resources, then it'll be a lot easier for you to ask for help.
That's a good point. Yeah, man. I'm glad you did because, like I said, you could have gone a totally different way. And I know a lot of athletes do. It took me so long, man. Like you did that while you were still in school. It probably took me 2 or 3 years after college to start reaching out for help. And I know a lot of people, that's the case. So props to you for, nipping it in the bud, addressing it early, being willing to be vulnerable and talk to other people and give yourself permission to have that release to move through it. So that's a beautiful thing, man. Thank you for sharing that, Izzy.
No, thank you. And I think it also has to do with like, there's a term called athletic identity. And that's something even like after I was able to like reach out and get help, even after that, like, in my first couple of years after I graduated college and I was, figuring out who I was as a person outside of Izzy the athlete, that athletic identity was still with me, and again, like there are some positives when it comes to it. There are a lot of positives, working hard, working within a team, like taking pride in the fact that, you were a former athlete, but you don't realize that because you when your career is over and you still have, some of that mentality, it can have a negative impact on your life. So it's important that, you have that healthy transition. You still hold on to some of the things that helped you mold you into the person that you are today. But it's also, you have to be aware of like, there's certain things that, you want to leave in the past, and it's important for you. And it like, because again, like it's not going to serve you better now. So it's important that you understand like what's important for you to leave behind and what's important for you to, keep with you to move forward.
That's real. That's some strong advice right there, man. Thank you for that too. And we come full circle. Like you said, you end up back at Stony Brook And I know this is a loaded question, Izzy, because you wear many hats, you do many different things. But what we have a lot of athletes who listen into the show, and a lot of them want to work in athletics. And I think even like life skills coordinators or directors of life skills, would you say this is a fairly not new, but fairly there's more emphasis put on these departments in recent years, at least within the past decade or so, for sure the past 5 years. Would you say that's the case?
Yeah, it's I'll be honest with you. I never heard of it. Like I've never heard of this position even before I got to Stony Brook. Um, and I think and I'm glad that Stony Brook I want to say this position was has been in existence for about 5-6 years. And I'm glad that Stony Brook actually created this position because we have so many athletes who are going through the program and they're having successful athletic careers, but it takes them a while for them to transition into the workforce. Or for example, if they want to explore different opportunities, it takes them a while for them to do that. Because again, like they're leading with their athletic identity. They're leading with, I'm an athlete. I'm an athlete student instead of a student athlete. So I'm glad that Stony Brook actually did that.
Yeah, me too, man. And thank you for clarifying that because I wasn't sure either. I was like, when I was in school, I graduated 2013, and I definitely had never heard of a life skills coordinator or director of life skills. So I'm glad, and like you said, it's good to see that things are moving in the right direction, where there's actual resources being put forth to be able to help student athletes after their careers. And you're the perfect man for the job. So the question I wanted to ask you was, what does a director of life skills do? If you could sum it up, we might need another few hours, you know what I'm saying? But if you could briefly sum it up.
I'll tell you this, man. I think my role as the director of life skills has changed about 3 times in the last like 2 years since I've been here. And yeah, so I mean, and I'll say it in a good way because what I do enjoy about this position is that it allows for me to be kind of like a chameleon. And what that allows for me to do is design program and have resources that are tailored to the student athlete right now that can impact them later on. And so like for example, like right now we have name, image, and likeness that just passed. And right now, like this is an opportunity for student athletes to benefit monetarily from their own brand, from their own name, image, and likeness. And that right there is going to substantially impact my role as the director of life skills. And the reason why is because I have to have full knowledge of how that particular policy is going to impact the lives of those students. And even like take it a step further, how is that going to impact the pockets of those student athletes, right? Because when we're thinking about name, image, and likeness, and how students can actually start to, make some money on the side for themselves, and not have, like, for example, their eligibility impacted. Now, I have to be very cognizant of how like our students and financial management when it comes to how are you creating a budget for yourself. What are the tax implications when it comes to you having an additional stream of income? How is this additional stream of income going to impact your financial aid? How is that going to impact your family, like in terms of like your financial aid package? Like how is that going to impact them? If you're making X amount of money, is that money going to take your family into a different tax bracket? And these are some of the things that I know student athletes aren't really thinking about, because I didn't start thinking about that until actually the policy actually passed. And I'm like, wait, so how is this going to impact them, like beyond them actually making money? Like what's the true impact of this, short term, medium term, and long term? So like, I know I went off on a tangent when it came to the NIL, but like that's something that's fresh on my mind, and so like what I've been able to do with name, image, and likeness, and with the leadership of Debbie, who's amazing, and Debbie who serves as the senior women's administrator, and the associate athletic director for compliance, and she oversees both life skills and academic success, and she wears many hats, and NIL is based, like, she has to be the expert on NIL because she understands that, how, like, if our student athletes are not fully versed as to how to take advantage of it, they can be liable for different things. So we definitely have to make sure we're all educated on NIL policy. And then also, we've partnered up with Influencer, which I don't know if you've heard of them, but like they're basically looking at student athlete profiles, social media profile, engaging, what's their like dollar value, as what's their brand dollar value on social media, which again, like that's a complete game changer. Because like imagine back in our days, like if we had social media and we can take advantage of that. Like think about that. Like if we were able to take advantage of that, like how that would have changed the lives of us as student athletes. So I think our student athletes right now, like they're living through history. They're the first group that's going to go through this iteration of NIL, and I'm excited for them. And in terms of life skills, like what it was to what it is right now. Like right now, like I'm more focused towards their career and leadership development. And honestly, it's something that that I have a passion for, because I understand like the true the true implications of not addressing some of those things when it comes to career early on in their college process, in their college experience, and we're not waiting until their senior year to backload all those different things that they should have taken care of during the freshman and sophomore year, and not wait until the senior year to actually rush all this. So like it's I wear many hats. I wish I could tell you every single one of the things that I do, but I maybe this semester I might do this. Following semester I might do something else. But it's all it's all great because I know that it's positively impacting the lives of student athletes. I didn't even get to mention this. So I also sit on the Spread Respect Advisory Group, which is basically the group that was formed by the American East Conference, which is basically creating the diversity, equity, inclusion strategy as a conference. And it was a really great experience because I was able to work with other administrators, other student athletes, and other coaches and supportive staff across the American East Conference, which is really great. It was a really great experience. I learned a lot from them. They learned a lot from me, and I'm really excited about the direction. Not only just as a conference when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, but also at Stony Brook, because we've been a leader when it comes to like that particular topic, and we have an amazing partner in Dr. Jude Clark on campus, who is the vice president. And she's gonna kill me when I say this. She's the vice president of that. Oh my god, I completely. And she just told me her position too. So she was a chief diversity officer, but now she's the vice president of oh my god, the vice president of that is not the vice president of diversity, equity, inclusion, but she is a person on campus that she's going to set the strategy for the campus when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion. She's going to set the vision, and she's also a former student athlete herself, not here at Stony Brook, but at Michigan State. She's a former Olympian, and she's an amazing partner. And I'm definitely looking forward to working with her. We'll continue to work with her and all the resources that she has, at her disposal.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, Izzy, like we said, you wear a lot of different hats. There's a lot of different layers to what you do. It sounds like it's a role that's constantly evolving and is going to continue to evolve, especially with NIL laws. Like you said, it's an exciting time for student athletes. It's an exciting time for people who are involved in athletic departments. And man, you need some help, man. You need like an assistant or something. You need an executive assistant, man. You need something.
Man. Man, you need a whole team, man. You need a whole team.
Yeah, you need a whole team, man. That's what it sounds like. And who knows, maybe that's on the way for you. But that's awesome, man. I want to be respectful of your time. I know we could easily keep this conversation going for much longer, but you've already given us so much. And I definitely appreciate all the work you do, man. I want to make sure I give people an opportunity to connect with you. So please tell people how they can get in touch, where they can follow you on social media.
Oh, definitely. So, I mean, I'm not the best in terms of social media. I actually what's funny about that is my personal Instagram is about 3 years old. I which is funny because like because of my work and life skills, so I also manage the life skills Instagram. So if you go on, I believe it's Stony Brook Life Skills. Follow Stony Brook Life Skills. Definitely like reach out through there. Definitely connect. I don't mind connecting. I don't mind helping others who are trying to figure out how to get into athletics. Because again, like getting into athletics is so difficult. Because you have to know the right people. You have to know the right programs. And again, like you have to get in wherever you can, and then build yourself out through there. But like the way that I go, I was fortunate that I already had a connection, and because I was an alumni, like this was it was fairly easy for me to just come in and like and do the work. So yeah.
Thank you so much for taking some time out of your very busy schedule to do this interview, man. Like I always tell you, I greatly appreciate the work you do. I know I'm a little biased because I went to Stony Brook, but I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of life skills coordinators or director of life skills. And I really do feel like Stony Brook is on the cutting edge in many ways in terms of not just checking the box to say, hey, look at what we're doing for our student athletes, but actually putting systems into place to support the athletes. Like I said, man, I wish you were there when I was at Stony Brook. You're doing a phenomenal job. Thank you for all the work you do. I'm excited to continue to collaborate with you and continue this mission we're all together, bro. So much love, Izzy. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much, man. Have a good one, man.
Yes, sir. You too. Take care.